Hello, dear Libra. This is not just another horoscope reading. This is a sacred moment, one you were destined to arrive at. And in the first few seconds of this video, let me be crystal clear. A silent farewell is coming into your life and it will change everything. Now, before you look away or scroll past, ask yourself this. Have you been feeling like something or someone is slowly slipping away from your reality, even without a clear reason? A whisper you can't quite name. A shift you can't explain. A heaviness that doesn't belong to your current chapter anymore. If any part of you answered, yes, you're exactly where you need to be. Because this message didn't just find you. You were led here. By timing. By energy. By that wise part of your soul that knows when the tides are about to turn. Libra, your heart is the keeper of beauty, balance, and connection. But even the most graceful of souls can feel lost when something ends, especially when it ends without warning, without clarity, without closure. Today, we're not here to mourn what's leaving. We're here to understand its purpose. Because that gentle goodbye, the one that's forming in your energy right now, it's not a punishment. It's an initiation. An invitation to come back to yourself. You see, the universe doesn't just remove things at random. It realigns your life. It clears the space. It makes room for your next level even when it hurts. And right now, that space is opening inside of you. So take a breath with me. Just one. Feel your chest rise and trust that whatever is fading was never meant to stay forever. As we journey through the rest of this reading, I will share with you the energetic keys you need to recognize this farewell as a sacred release, not a tragic loss. Through tarot, astrology, cosmic timing, and numerology, we will connect the dots between what's leaving and what's coming. And trust me, what's coming is not ordinary. It's magnificent. So if your intuition has been restless, if your dreams have been strange, if your heart has felt both heavy and strangely free, stay. This is for you. If you're already feeling this shift in your soul, comment below with the number 11, the number of divine insight and awakening, and say, I'm ready to face the truth. Let your voice ripple through the cosmos and confirm to the universe, I'm awake. I'm listening. I'm no longer afraid to let go. And before we continue, allow me a moment of deep gratitude. Thank you for being here. For trusting me. Every like, every comment, every subscription to Zodiac Whisper Tarot becomes part of something greater, a growing circle of awakened souls ready to walk in truth and beauty. Your support doesn't just help this channel grow, it fuels the light we're all meant to share. So, beloved Libra, stay until the end. Because what the universe is about to reveal is nothing short of extraordinary. Now tell me, what brought you here today? A dream? A sign? Or a quiet voice in your spirit whispering, it's time? Sometimes, what feels like a disruption is really just a recalibration, not to break you, but to bring you back into harmony with yourself. If you've been walking through life tiptoeing around conflict, choosing peace even when it costs you your inner truth, then this quiet farewell may be more sacred than it first appears. For someone like you, Libra, so devoted to balance, to fairness, to maintaining connections, the idea of something slipping away without your control can feel deeply unsettling. But perhaps it's not about losing control at all. Maybe it's about releasing what was never truly in alignment with your spirit to begin with. The reverse justice card doesn't come to punish. It arrives when we've been living out of sync for too long, when we've overcompensated in relationships, silenced our intuition for the sake of appearances, or avoided difficult truths because they threatened our constructed calm. This moment is not about judgment from the outside world. It's an invitation to examine whether you've been fair to yourself. Have you sacrificed your needs to maintain harmony with others? Have you accepted, almost right, just to avoid loneliness? And then there's the Six of Swords, a symbol of soft departure, the kind of leaving that isn't loud or dramatic but quietly necessary. This is the energy of slipping away from emotional heaviness, of crossing the inner waters that separate who you are from who you're meant to become. Even if no one around you sees it, even if you can't explain it yet, something inside is being set free. Astrologically, this is intensified by the current Venus-Saturn tension. Venus, your planetary ruler, governs love, beauty, and personal values. Saturn, the great teacher, comes to ask, is what you're attached to actually serving your growth? These energies may feel uncomfortable now, like the tightening of a knot before it unravels. But they're asking you to redefine what love really means, to no longer equate peace with passivity, or compromise with silence. Sometimes, love is not about holding on tighter, it's about loosening your grip on something that has already completed its role in your life. The divine never takes anything away without a reason. And while you may not fully understand it yet, what's shifting now is part of a larger orchestration that's working for your good. We're taught in wisdom traditions that when something falls apart quietly, it's often because the soul has already outgrown it. And rather than rip it away violently, life gently moves it out of reach. In those moments, your job isn't to chase it, your job is to pause, listen, and lean into trust. If your heart has felt heavier lately, it's not because you're weak. It's because you're strong enough now to notice what doesn't belong. You're attuned. You're awake. And in this sacred stillness, your courage is no longer about fighting to keep things, but about having the grace to let them leave. So let go without bitterness. Let go without self-blame. That's how true transformation begins, not with grand gestures, but with subtle shifts that realign you with your truest self. You don't need a full explanation. You only need to trust that the space being created now will soon be filled with what's meant to find you. It's okay to grieve what's ending. But don't forget to celebrate what you're making room for. Growth often looks like surrender. And the most powerful decisions you'll ever make are the quiet ones made in the heart, in silence, under the moon, when no one else is watching. That is where real freedom lives. And Libra, you're stepping into it now. There's a quiet kind of knowing that lives inside you, one that doesn't shout or demand, but whispers gently when something no longer fits. And Libra, you've heard that whisper. Not just once. Not just recently. It's been echoing within you for some time now, soft as a breeze but persistent as truth. You've seen the signs, felt the emotional distance, noticed how your joy begins to fade when you're around certain people or stuck in certain cycles. Maybe your dreams have grown stranger. Maybe you wake up with a heaviness you can't explain. But a part of you, the part that knows balance better than anyone, is quietly acknowledging what your outer self keeps pretending isn't happening. This isn't a judgment. It's a recognition. Because you, more than most, have always valued peace. You've built your life around harmony, around making others feel safe and seen. You've mastered the art of keeping things calm on the surface, even when underneath, the foundation has already cracked. But peace isn't truly peace when it costs your authenticity. When it requires you to hide how you really feel, or to stay in situations that slowly chip away at your spirit. And deep down, you know this. You've known it for a while. You just haven't wanted to name it because naming it means facing the possibility that something needs to end. Still, the universe has a gentle way of intervening when we delay what's necessary. Not out of cruelty, but out of love. And perhaps this is that moment where life, in its quiet wisdom, is helping you let go of something you've held onto for too long. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you ready. Because holding on is easy, it's the letting go that takes strength. When the number 2, the symbol of balance and connection, begins to tremble and evolve into the number 5, you are being asked to grow. To move. To stretch beyond your comfort zone. The number 5, in numerology, is the frequency of change, motion, and expansion. And while change can feel disruptive, it is always the doorway to your next level. Life is not punishing you. It's preparing you. If you've ever felt like you're walking a tightrope keeping everyone happy, balancing between truth and appearances, it's okay to admit that you're tired. That the shoes you've worn to keep it all together no longer fit. That the act is wearing thin. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to step off the rope. Not with a dramatic fall, but with a conscious step towards solid ground, the kind that holds your truth, your voice, your heart. There's a lesson gently offered in moments like these, and it's not mystical or unreachable. It's simple, honest, and grounded. You cannot build lasting peace by avoiding discomfort. True peace, the kind that feels like home in your body and clarity in your mind, comes from being real. With yourself. With others. With life. You don't need to burn bridges or tear down the walls. You only need to stop ignoring the cracks. To stop investing energy into holding things together that are naturally falling apart. Because when you release what is no longer aligned, you make space beautiful, fertile space for what is. And remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Grace is always allowed. Like the teachings many of us carry in our hearts, those gentle reminders to walk in truth, to let your yes mean yes and your no mean no. This too is a process of coming back into alignment. Of honoring the quiet voice inside you that has always known what is real and what is no longer serving you. So if your heart feels shaky today, don't rush to fix it. Just listen. Hold space. Begin with a breath. You already know what's asking to be released. And now, with compassion and courage, you get to decide, will you trust yourself enough to let go? It's not always the loud choices that shape your future. Sometimes, it's the softest ones, the ones you make when no one is watching, that carry the most weight. After all the inner hesitations, after all the mental debates, this moment invites you into a different kind of choice. One that doesn't come from fear, or habit, or the pressure to keep things looking perfect on the outside. This is about choosing balance that feels real, not balance that simply appears calm while your soul remains in conflict. You've already felt the tension. You've already lived with the unease of keeping something in your life just because it's familiar. And now, the energy around you is shifting. The moon, resting gently in Libra and forming a harmonious trine with expansive Jupiter, creates a portal for truth-based decisions that bring relief, even if they come with temporary discomfort. It's the kind of cosmic moment that quietly nudges you, choose again. But this time, choose with honesty. The Lover's card reverse speaks not just to romantic dilemmas, but to the deeper choice between what you've known and what your higher self is calling you toward. It's the space between comfort and courage, between who you've been and who you're becoming. That reversal doesn't mean the love is gone or the connection is meaningless. It means the harmony may no longer be mutual. It means your connection to yourself might be needing more attention than your connection to someone or something else. This is your invitation to stop choosing out of guilt, and start choosing from self-respect. When we talk about balance as Libras, it's easy to associate it with external symmetry, relationships that flow smoothly, situations that don't ruffle feathers. But the truth is, real balance starts inside. You can only maintain fairness with others when you're not secretly betraying yourself. Choosing what's easier, to avoid conflict, may feel noble at first, but over time it leaves you scattered, pulled in too many directions, unsure where you even stand. You don't need to keep proving that you're the peacemaker. You were born with that gift, but now you're being asked to use it in a new way, to restore peace within. Letting go of old versions of yourself can feel strange at first. You may worry that if you stop being the one who compromises, the one who smooths things over, you'll lose people, or comfort, or control. But the truth is, the things meant for you, the people, the paths, the purpose, will never require you to fracture your truth to maintain them. Sometimes, love means release. Sometimes, clarity comes after the goodbye. And sometimes, the most healing thing you can do is write a letter to the person you used to be, the version of you who did what they had to do to survive, to be accepted, to keep things stable, and gently, lovingly, set them free. When you perform that simple act, placing your truth into words and offering it to the night sky, to the quiet of the moon, you're not just letting go. You're honoring how far you've come. You're saying, "Thank you for what you've taught me, but I'm ready to live differently now." And that, Libra, is the kind of self-love that doesn't scream, it radiates. It doesn't demand approval, it creates alignment. There's a soft voice inside of you that already knows which version of balance isn't sustainable anymore. It's not about making dramatic changes overnight, but about no longer delaying the small, honest decisions that free you. As a quiet teaching says, you were not created to live in confusion or fear, but with a sound mind and steady heart. That clarity is your birthright. And it becomes available the moment you stop clinging to what was and start trusting what's next, even if you don't fully see it yet. And just like that, in the quiet after the letting go, something beautiful begins to stir, not in the outside world just yet, but inside you. After all the decisions made from survival, all the roles you've played to preserve harmony, there comes a moment when life gently pauses and asks, "What if now?" It's time to return to yourself. Libra, your soul was designed to dance with beauty, to find meaning in connection, and to bring peace where others create chaos. But even the most graceful hearts need space to breathe, to remember that you're not just here to reflect the light in others, but to reclaim your own. The star card showing up now is no coincidence. It's not just a symbol of hope, it's a quiet confirmation from the universe that healing is already in motion. That you don't have to rush. That just because something ended or is about to doesn't mean you're broken. It means space is being made for something new. For something true. This is the invitation, to look toward what's unfolding, not through the lens of what you've lost, but through the possibility of who you're becoming. Healing is never linear, and growth doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it's allowing yourself to be softer, to be seen without armor, to admit that yes, even someone as composed as you can feel lost. That yes, even the one who holds others together also needs to fall apart sometimes. And here's something quietly powerful to consider. When one door closes, the next one rarely looks how we expect it to. Sometimes, it opens through a conversation you didn't plan. A coincidence too meaningful to ignore. A dream that lingers longer than usual. These aren't accidents. These are whispers, gentle nudges from the fabric of life reminding you that you are still being guided, even when it feels like you're drifting. So take note of what appears in these final days of the month. The way someone speaks to you out of nowhere. The numbers that repeat on clocks or receipts. The way a song seems to echo what's happening in your heart. These aren't just strange alignments. They're signals. Not because the universe is trying to make life mysterious, but because it knows how to reach you when words aren't enough. And when it comes to moving forward, don't force clarity. Sometimes, the most courageous thing you can do is choose stillness until direction naturally arrives. Think of a boat with torn sails. When those sails are finally pulled down, the boat doesn't sink, it begins to drift, slowly, gently, on new currents. Only then do you realize it hadn't truly moved in ages. That's where you are right now. And it's okay. Your lucky colors during this time, soft mint green and pearl blush pink, aren't just aesthetics. They carry a vibration that mirrors what's needed most. Mint green for emotional reset, for clarity and breath, and blush for honoring your own value with tenderness. Maybe wear them, surround yourself with them, or simply meditate on the way they feel. Let them be reminders that you don't need to do more, you only need to be more present with yourself. One thing I've learned, again and again, is that life doesn't require perfection to bless you. It asks only for readiness. And readiness doesn't mean having all the answers. It means showing up, honestly, with your hands open. As a quiet teaching reminds us, you don't have to chase what's meant for you. You only have to be available to receive it when it arrives. So if this feels like a strange in-between, trust that it's not wasted space. It's the divine pause before a shift. A chapter is closing, but not to leave you empty. Only to make room for a door you haven't even imagined yet. After all the emotional unraveling, the silent realizations, and the growing awareness that something is shifting, now comes the part that asks for care. Not effort. Not fixing. Just presence and gentleness. Healing, as you're beginning to understand, is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet routines, small choices, and honest moments with yourself that start to put everything back into place, not as it was, but as it should be. Libra, your natural instinct is to search for balance outside of yourself through beauty, through connection, through keeping things calm and elegant. But true harmony, the kind that soothes the nervous system and steadies the heart, is an internal state. It's built slowly, like a garden tended one moment at a time. And in this phase, the most radical thing you can do is treat yourself like someone worth prioritizing. Because you are. If your mind has been racing, your sleep interrupted, or your thoughts looping around unresolved conversations, consider this a sign. your nervous system is asking for a pause. Not a pause from life, but a pause from pressure. Try replacing overstimulation with quiet rituals. A warm cup of chamomile tea in the evening. Limiting caffeine when you're already running on adrenaline. Gentle touch to the back of your neck or shoulders, not to fix anything, but to remind your body it's safe again. In your professional space, if you've been feeling drained, emotionally flat, or uninspired, take note. It doesn't necessarily mean it's time to quit, but it might mean it's time to reevaluate. Work that depletes your spirit, no matter how well it pays or how stable it seems, will eventually show up in your body. And no decision has to be rushed. Begin with awareness. Ask yourself, does this environment reflect the version of me I'm growing into? If the answer is no, you don't need a full plan yet. You just need honesty. And let's talk about money, because Libra, you have a refined relationship with beauty and pleasure, which sometimes means spending to soothe. But emotional purchases rarely heal emotional wounds. If you found yourself chasing momentary comfort through impulsive spending, it's okay. No shame. Just gently invite yourself to pause before the next click or swipe. Ask, what am I actually needing right now? Sometimes, just naming the feeling helps you choose differently. Spend with presence. Not to avoid pain, but to express value. In love, there's another layer unfolding. The truth is, some people are not meant to walk the entire path with you, and that's not failure. That's life. If your heart has been clinging to someone out of routine or nostalgia, allow yourself space to step back. Let stillness show you who truly nourishes your soul, and who simply occupies space. You're not meant to settle. You're meant to grow. And sometimes, that means honoring the goodbye you've delayed. There's something beautifully powerful about writing a letter to someone or something you're releasing. Not because they earned your grace, but because you deserve peace. It doesn't need to be sent. It just needs to be honest. You might start with, "Thank you for what you taught me," and end with, "I now free us both." It's an act of closure, not for them but for the version of you that no longer wants to carry it. Remember, healing isn't about being positive all the time. It's about being honest, gentle, and responsible with what you feel. You don't need to do everything perfectly. You just need to show up for yourself with love. And as one timeless teaching reminds us, you are called to care for your heart, for it guides the course of your life. So be slow. Be soft. Be real. And trust that every act of care you offer yourself now is building a new kind of balance, not polished on the outside, but rooted on the inside. You don't need to keep everything steady on the surface. You don't have to hold all the pieces together if it means abandoning the pieces of yourself. What you truly need, what your soul has been quietly asking for, is honesty. Not with the world, not with those around you, but with yourself. And that begins now. It begins by recognizing that what's ending isn't a punishment, but a realignment. It's not rejection, it's redirection. This farewell, as unexpected or even painful as it may feel, is not here to break you. It's here to break you free. There's a beauty in this ending that you may not fully see yet. But give it time. Look deeper. That goodbye that's forming in your life may actually be the universe whispering, "You deserve more than what you've settled for." And Libra, I know how easy it is to choose comfort over uncertainty, to stay in something simply because it's familiar, to keep peace even when it costs your truth. But ask yourself gently now, would you rather stay in a version of life that slowly erodes your spark, or step toward the unknown with dignity, self-respect, and clarity? You're being offered a moment of quiet liberation. A portal into something truer. Not because everything ahead will be easy, but because from now on, it will be honest. And honesty is where your real balance begins. So, what will you choose? To remain where you're shrinking out of habit, or to move forward toward a space where your soul can breathe again? Take a breath. And in that breath, ask, who am I becoming? What version of me will I allow to lead from this point forward? You've learned a lot in this chapter about connection, about boundaries, about your own capacity to love and stay. But now you're learning something even more sacred, the art of leaving with grace. The art of releasing what no longer aligns, not because it's easy, but because your future self deserves a chance to bloom. So I invite you, gently but with full conviction, to put into practice everything you felt today. Write that letter. Drink that calming tea. Take that walk without your phone. Reflect. Be quiet. And most importantly, allow yourself to trust that what's leaving is making space for what's right. And if this message reached you right when you needed it, it's not a coincidence. You were meant to hear this. Your timing is divine. That's why you're here. You've always been attuned to the subtle shifts. Now let yourself respond to them with action, with courage, with softness. Before you go, I'd love for you to share something with our community in the comments. Have you ever gone through a goodbye that, at the time, felt like your undoing but later revealed itself as your rebirth? Your words might help someone else who's walking through their own version of release. Let's heal together. And if this video awakens something inside you, a realization, a softness, a quiet strength, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your support means the world. Every interaction breathes life into this sacred space. We're building a space for healing, for clarity, and for remembering who you are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting your intuition. Thank you for giving yourself this moment. And Libra, remember this: you are not losing anything that is meant to stay. You are simply making room for what has been waiting for you all along. Stay present. Stay open. Stay true. I'll see you in the next message. Until then, walk gently, but walk forward.